Our first speaker this morning is Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who traveled to Seattle to be with us this morning. He's a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, and he also studied at Harvard Law School, where he was actually the editor of Harvard Law Review. He has been the Deputy Attorney General since April 26, 2017. He has worked as a prosecuting attorney in many parts of the country. There is a lot more that I could say, but I'm actually going to give the podium to him to tell us about his job and how the Department of Justice feels forensic science plays in 2018 and beyond in their administration. Please, a warm welcome for our Deputy Attorney General.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. I want to thank you very much for having me here, Nick. And Betty, I appreciate your hospitality. I'm very glad to be here today, although I must say that it's unseasonably warm back home. My kids told me it's 80 degrees in Maryland today. It's about 31 here in Seattle, but we wouldn't know it sitting here inside. But I'm very honored to be here. I'm glad to hear, Nick, that you're going to be in my neighborhood, and I hope to be able to get together with you again next year, because this organization is very important to the work that we do at the Department of Justice. I'm honored to address the American Academy of Forensic Sciences. I understand this is your 70th annual meeting. This is a highly respected organization with 11 different sections, nearly 7,000 members nationwide. You have an enormous diversity of professional backgrounds, skills, and experience. Your ranks include researchers, forensic scientists, and criminal litigators. You study forensic science, you practice forensic science, and you are patrons of forensic science. In those ways, the Academy and the Department of Justice have much in common. At the department, we also study forensic science in our research labs. We practice forensic science in our crime labs, and we are patrons of forensic science in the tens of thousands of cases that we investigate and prosecute each year. The department relies on forensic science to carry out our work, and we strive to set a standard of excellence just as you do. I'm inspired by the work of the forensic scientists that I've met, by the expertise that they bring to the job, and by their dedication to determining the truth and to achieving justice through the practice of science. The value of your work is illustrated by a case that arose during the Martin Luther King parade 7 years ago in Spokane, not far from here. Alert city workers found an abandoned backpack along the parade route. Out of an abundance of caution, they diverted the parade, and they called in the Spokane Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. Investigators discovered that the backpack was an improvised explosive device. A bomb squad was able to disarm the device, and thanks to their quick work, they preserved critical evidence, including 128 fishing weights that would have served as projectiles if the device had exploded. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force here in Spokane immediately began an investigation. This Joint Terrorism Task Force, what we call the JTTF, is a superb model used by the FBI nationwide. I participated in it when I was U.S. Attorney in Maryland. It brings together all of our federal, state, and local partners and critical private sector organizations that have a role to play in preventing terrorism and other major criminal events. Well, that task force was able to canvass the region, and they looked for batteries and other components that were similar to those that were used in the bomb. They sent the device to the FBI crime lab for a detailed analysis, along with other evidence obtained from multiple searches. FBI examiners also worked to extract DNA evidence from the backpack. Other examiners developed pattern trace and chemical evidence from the device. They found that the fishing weights were coated with rat poison and feces. The would-be bomber had planned to maximize the damage that his bomb would do. Within a month of the discovery, FBI investigators determined that a local store had recently made 3 sales of large quantities of the fishing weights that were used in the bomb. The store's record revealed that 2 of those purchases were made with cash. The third was made with a credit card in the name of a man named Kevin Harpham. FBI investigators soon discovered that Harpham had connections to a white supremacist group and they were able to match the DNA from the backpack to Harpum. The FBI also matched 14 tool marks on parts of the device to a crimping tool discovered in a search of Harpum's property. Suspecting that Harpum might be heavily armed, the FBI's hostage rescue team devised a ruse to lure him out of his home. As the agents suspected, Harpum was armed. Fortunately, he was safely taken into custody. He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to serve 32 years in federal prison. In that case, the system worked exactly as intended, and tragedy was averted. It demonstrates the value of coordinated law enforcement and the critical importance of forensic science in the fight against crime. Now, President Trump has ordered the Department of Justice to reduce violent crime, and Attorney General Sessions has made it his top priority for our department to achieve that goal. Forensic science, used appropriately, will help us to accomplish our mission. I've worked in federal law enforcement for more than 27 years. I understand the critical role that forensic science plays in our criminal justice system. As Deputy Attorney General, a job I've held since last April, I've developed an even deeper understanding and appreciation for the role of forensic science in the search for truth. And we now have in the department a dedicated team that's devoted full-time to working with you and other interest groups to enhance our commitment, accuracy, and reliability in the area of forensic science. For that reason, I'm pleased to share with you today what the Department of Justice is doing to increase our capacity to analyze evidence, to improve coordination with stakeholders, and to advance the reliability of forensic science. Science and law are two of the most influential professions in America. They have a long partnership born of mutual interest and necessity. They share core values of accuracy, consistency, stability, and transparency. They both rely on rigorous thought and principled action, and they both count on the integrity of the people and processes to inspire confidence in their outcomes, whether that is a test result or a legal ruling in court. Last April, our department announced that we would undertake a needs assessment of forensic laboratories. The purpose of the project is to examine the workload of America's public crime labs and evaluate personnel, equipment, and training needs. That assessment will result in a report to Congress this fall. So over the last 6 months, we've held many listening sessions with forensic science stakeholders, and we have scheduled more sessions here with you this week. We focus on identifying the most urgent needs facing the forensic community and developing potential solutions. We meet with lab directors, bench scientists, investigators, and litigators. We also meet with forensic associations, societies, and organizations. I want to share with you 3 important things that we've already learned. First, we learn more about the people who work in your field. The expertise, commitment, and passion that forensic scientists bring to their jobs is truly inspiring. Most of you work in state and local crime labs with small budgets and big caseloads. You care deeply about your work and its impact on public health and safety and trust in the criminal justice system. You also have a wealth of knowledge about the needs in your field, and you are eager to share ideas with us. Each session reveals important insights about the challenges you face and promising solutions. Now, the second thing that we're learning is that common themes cut across all forensic disciplines. The opioid epidemic and the rise in violent crime increase the strain on an already taxed system, with crime labs, medical examiners, and forensic toxicologists bearing the brunt of the surge. The forensic community has been stressed by the increased demand for services, rising case backlogs, and requests for quicker turnaround times. Funding, personnel, training, and equipment needs sometimes have failed to keep pace with new demands. In light of those challenges, we are exploring new ways to increase testing capacities and decrease backlogs. We're also looking at ways to increase casework efficiencies with new technologies and strategies. We want our report to Congress to correctly reflect the thoughts of all of you and our state, local, and tribal partners. We expect the report to highlight new ways to address old challenges, to identify promising new practices, and to strengthen the field of forensic science in the future. The third thing that we've learned is that the future of forensic science holds great promise. Interest in the field remains strong, innovative research and development are flourishing, and revolutionary technologies are on the verge of becoming reality. Our department strongly supports forensic research, development, and innovation. The listening sessions have given us a greater understanding of the current and future technology needs of your community. We've scheduled 2 additional listening sessions this week here in Seattle. I want to thank the Academy for its assistance in arranging those sessions. We're also enhancing our coordination and collaboration with all of our federal partner agencies. Strong partnerships decrease duplication of effort and increase efficiencies in the fight against crime. As a step to promote strong partnerships, I'm pleased to announce today that we are reviving the Council on Federal Forensic Laboratory Directors with a new charter and a mandate to continually improve our forensic work. The Council is the only federal interagency working group focused solely on forensic science. It includes representatives from the Department of Justice and other executive branch agencies with forensic science labs. The Council will spot trends, share intelligence, identify research needs, and focus on collaborative ways to use forensic science in the fight against crime. Our new council reports directly to the Deputy Attorney General and includes designated staff who will be working full-time to support its mission. We look forward to working with our federal partners on that council. I also want to discuss the department's commitment to the reliability of forensic science. As you all know, we've had challenges in the past, and we're committed to ensuring that we have no such problems in the future. Reliable forensic science is the result of responsible forensic practice. Responsible practice requires an understanding of forensic methods and the evidence. Like all applied sciences, forensic science relies in part on human interpretation and judgment, which lead to an expert's conclusion. And once that conclusion is formed, it must be carefully expressed, both in forensic reports and in trial testimony. The words that we use must correctly convey both the significance and any limitations of the conclusion. So last August, I announced that the department would develop what we call uniform language for testimony and reports. The language will set the appropriate scientific boundaries for expert conclusions offered by department examiners in lab reports and testimony. Our goal is to make sure that our experts properly articulate their conclusions so that judges and juries fully understand what they mean. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we're implementing our uniform language for the latent print discipline. This is the first approved uniform language document. It specifies the appropriate range of conclusions that department examiners may provide about latent print examinations. It also includes important scientific limitations on those conclusions and other testimonial statements. So it will specify how our experts articulate in their reports and in their testimony what their conclusions are and what they mean. The document was peer-reviewed by experts outside of the department, and their comments helped to inform the approved language. In addition to forensic practitioners, we expect that lawyers and judges will closely review the uniform language to better understand the proper scope and basis for our expert conclusions. In addition to uniform language, I announced last summer that we would develop and implement a program to monitor the courtroom testimony of our department examiners so that we can be confident that what they're saying in court is consistent with our guidelines. So today I'm pleased to announce that we have issued guidance to our forensic labs and our digital analysis entities to establish testimony monitoring practices. The department will implement robust testimony monitoring programs to help ensure that our examiners testify consistent with current scientific principles. As forensic science evolves over time, so too must the uniform language. We realize that scientific knowledge must be constantly advanced by those who seek the truth. As our knowledge of science advances, The writings that reflect our current state of that knowledge need to change. So the department supports ongoing, practitioner-led efforts to develop consensus-based and scientifically sound documentary standards. Each of our approved uniform language documents will be reviewed regularly to confirm that they reflect current scientific knowledge and best practices. The uniform language and the testimony monitoring programs are additional measures to help ensure that our examiners correctly state their expert conclusions in reports and testimony. These new measures will advance the practice of reliable and responsible forensic science in our federal courts and in state courts where our experts testify. In addition to reliability, another core value shared by both science and law is the importance of transparency about our decision-making processes. Transparency enables greater understanding, guides our conduct, and promotes accountability. Most importantly, it helps to maintain public trust in our legal and scientific institutions. For those reasons, in the coming months, the department's forensic crime labs will complete the process of posting their current quality management standards online. The postings will include laboratory policies, procedures, and protocols, and existing summaries of our internal validation studies. Our forensic labs seek to establish and maintain the highest standards of quality and accountability. That commitment is reflected in our people, our practices, and the sound scientific work that they produce every day. As a leader in the field of forensic science, our department is committed to leading by example, and that includes sharing our forensic policies and procedures with all interested parties to advance the cause of quality forensic practice. These documents will be available to forensic examiners, legal practitioners, and the general public. Online access allows for the study, use, and adaptation of department policies and procedures by other labs. It also allows judges and attorneys to better understand how our results are produced for courtroom use, including the many levels and layers of quality control that are so critical to the truth-seeking process. Placing our policies and procedures online will promote greater understanding about the scientific side of our criminal justice system. Open access to high-quality forensic standards will promote greater confidence in the scientific process and our outcomes. And that confidence, in turn, will promote greater respect for the rule of law. I want to leave you with a few final thoughts about our role and yours in the search for truth. We're privileged to live in a country where forensic scientists are free to seek the truth, no matter where it may lead. As Winston Churchill said, the truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, and ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is. One of the most prominent forensic scientists in the first half of the 20th century lived here in Seattle. Luke May, who moved to Seattle almost 100 years ago, dedicated his career to using forensics to solve crimes and seek the truth. He was sometimes referred to as the American Sherlock Holmes. May operated a private forensic laboratory, and he investigated cases for both sides, for the prosecution and the defense. Near the end of his life, he received an award with an inscription that read as follows: "Some seek truth for convenience, some for recognition. Few have sought it so diligently for so many years to prove equally innocence or guilt." Luke May's unbiased search for truth may be unusual in some professions, but it is not in yours and mine. More often than not, the search for truth is not easy. It does not make you rich, and it rarely makes you famous. In a world that is sometimes buried in a blizzard of conflicting opinions cast as facts, it's easy to fall prey to confirmation bias. But people who seek the truth always remain open to the possibility that it may not match their preconceptions. Fair-minded investigators must never reach a conclusion first and then risk ignoring contradictory facts that develop. President John Adams was a trial lawyer early in his career, and he wisely observed that facts are stubborn things. And whatever may be our wishes our inclinations, or the dictates of our passions, they cannot alter the state of the evidence. Many people passionately believe things that just aren't true. In the words of a 19th century Philadelphia doctor, sincerity of belief is not the test of truth. Pursuing truth always means yielding to credible evidence, even if it runs contrary to our hopes and expectations. Your Academy's mission statement is to advance science and its application to the legal system. The policies that I'm announcing today will advance the Justice Department's commitment to reliable science that helps us to find and report the truth. So I'm honored to be here today in a room filled with people who share that goal. Thank you for your commitment to justice.